Hi, I'm Life Coach Landry, and the topic is 7 traits of the modern sociopath and psychopath. I've been contacted by countless people that get nervous and scared when people come at them a certain way, and they always wonder what makes a psychopath and a sociopath. Okay, so 7 signs of the ruthless, people who will do anything to get what they want. And this does apply to narcissism as well. Go watch my video on 3 steps how to spot a narcissist. But, some people try to be tall by cutting the heads off of others. I'm going to read you one more quote. Our society is moving in a direction of permitting and reinforcing, and in some cases, actually valuing some of the traits listed in the psychopathy checklist. Okay? Those are 2 quotes that you should pay attention to. Okay, research shows that 4% of the population are sociopath, 15% are psychopathic. I say it's more like 25% because that study's from the early 2000s. I would say things have changed because of social networking and whatnot. So I want to give you some signs here. Number 1, pathological lying and manipulation is number 1. If you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes accepted as the truth. Okay, people, what they do is their desire for even more power over the person that they're dating. The idea is to trap you. Okay. So I got in one of the messages I got from somebody, they asked me, how do I know if someone's a psychopath versus a sociopath? Okay. So typically more people are going to be psychopaths than they are sociopaths. Okay. Sociopaths are very active people in life and whatnot, but psychopaths are people who are unstable in the mind, meaning once they go emotional, they're completely irrational, and they will harm anybody in their irrational state. And then they will apologize for it and then get ugly at some point again. Okay. And this is an unfortunate event for a lot of people. This applies to men and women. It happens to both sexes often. And their desire for even more power, like I said, they'll do blatant lies, distortions, deceptions, broken promises, blaming. They're the victim. I talk about it, highs and lows. I love you, baby. I just want to be with you. What? You don't want to talk to me anymore. And then they'll go off on you, things like that. And, I want to make sure this is in context of they do this over a span of time. Okay. This isn't if you're in a relationship right now and you're fighting with each other, well, of course those things are going to be said. But after about 72 hours, maybe 5 days or whatever, they should simmer down. You stop getting messages from them or whatnot. That's normal. That means you got in an emotional state, you went at each other, or they went at you, or you went at them, and then it all came down. It's the people who they do it for over time, for a long period of time. Even when you're not talking to them, they're constantly sending you stuff. That is psychopathic behavior, okay? Lack of morality and rule breaking, meaning they are threatened by other people in your life, good or bad, doesn't matter. They're threatened, period. And so what they do is they promise you that everything will be better if you're with them, and that they'll take care of you. Okay. And what you'll notice is their version of taking care of you is isolation. Psychopaths like to isolate you. Okay. They don't want you to work. If you're a woman and a man is trying, tells you doesn't want to work, even if he's open to like, oh yeah, you can work if you want, he knows in the end that most people take the easier route, right? So if they tell you not to work, it's because they're hoping eventually like, I'm going to get pregnant. It's better to stay at home. And then eventually the isolation begins. Okay. So you're left scratching your head like, hey, this guy was completely like warm and charming towards me. And now that I'm with him, things seem to get complacent. Okay. Psychopathic behavior. Lack of empathy. Okay. And this is where people get confused. See, psychopaths, it's not that they don't have a heart, because they do. Is that they lack their ability to exercise happiness for you when they're not getting what they want, right? So let me say this blatantly. If somebody loves you, a friend, a family member, or whatnot, your happiness will always be a priority for them. That's true, genuine love. That's not obsessive. That's not narcissistic. So if somebody tells you your happiness is important to them, and whatever makes you happy is what they want you to do, that is someone who genuinely loves you. Somebody who sits there and says, they're basically you being with somebody else, you meeting a new friend, you meeting somebody who's not them outside of that circle is a threat to them. Okay, so if you go to work and you meet a new female and that female's with you and she doesn't like, or she perceives some of the things about your relationship as weird, you'll notice the other person gets completely threatened by them. You know, if you broke up with somebody a long time ago and they want to still be your friend, but every time a new person comes around or they think you're moving on with your life, automatically they get threatened and they start coming at you really, really strong. But when you're with them, they let you go, right? So it doesn't really make any sense. When you're dating somebody, they let you go and they make it sound like they're the victim and you're making a bad choice. But as soon as you move on with your life, or they get a smell of somebody else new, all of a sudden they start threatening you, threatening the new person you're with, doing anything to make it to where you have no choice. Psychopathic behavior. Okay, it kind of compels them to trespass with little or no moral conflict. Harassing somebody else is a crossing a moral boundary, right? Because that other person doesn't even know them, yet they're willing to threaten them, okay? Knowing the suffering of the victim does not bring any ethical pause to them, meaning knowing that they're causing havoc in your new relationship doesn't make them pull back at all. They don't eventually even go, you know what? That was uncharacteristic. I shouldn't have done that. I mean, I need to back off. If that's who you want to be with, or that's going to be your new friend, then I need to back off of that. Psychopaths don't do that. They're continuously manipulative and unrelenting, okay? Abuses are committed without regret or remorse. No matter what they do to you, they're going to tell you they're sorry, but you'll notice the next time you hurt them, they'll hurt you again, okay? Little or no lessons learned from the negative behavior, okay? Number 4, though, is going to be narcissism and false superiority. If you've watched my narcissistic videos, you've already heard this. Not all narcissists are sociopaths, but all sociopaths are narcissists. Does that make sense to you? Many sociopaths are non-emotive, but most cases are that what they do is when they pull you in, what they try to do with you from a sociopathic and a psychological standpoint, the psychopath thing, is that they will threaten anybody and attack anybody who they feel like is trying to call them out. So if somebody ever exposes them, you'll know that they will freak out. When people expose you that aren't true, you don't have a lot of reaction, right? You're like, hey, that's not true. You know, if you want to talk about it, I'm open to talking about it. But, you know, what they said about me is not true. And, you know, if you want to talk about it, or I understand. If you need space to think about it, I understand. People who are guilty when other people observe them and call them out, flip out. I can't believe this is bullshit. Like, give me all their information. You know why? Because psychopaths want to go attack them now. Attack. You know, manipulate you, attack everything else around you. Okay? Gaslighting and psychopathic bullying. When someone constantly puts you down, leaves you feeling like you can't do anything right. And now you might say, well, what does that mean, anything right? That doesn't mean like when you make dinner, you didn't like the way, you know, the steak was cooked. Well, you know, when you eat, you want to know what you want your meal to be like it's supposed to be. People who don't think you do anything right, I'm talking about that attack your center character and how you operate, right? So what they do is when you first see them, and this typically goes with exes. So I bring up exes a lot because this, first of all, it's the number one requested verbiage I get from people on YouTube, and the number one comment is about divorce and exes and dating and exes. So I usually try to make my information apply to exes often because exes are the biggest threat to your future. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Your past, you cannot flourish in your future as long as your past hangs around. Period. Okay, so when people write me letters about their ex and whatnot, I always tell them you can't move forward with your life until you let go of your past. Okay. So what we're talking about here, though, they make you feel like you can't do anything right. What that means is without them, you can't do anything right. If you're with that person, you're making a big mistake. They'll never love you like I love you. You know, all those kind of things like that. Those are all manipulative behaviors to make it sound like you're basically nothing without them. Okay. And then when they don't get what they want, then they start doing the reverse. I'm nothing without you. My world is dark. What will I do? Look, when people really love each other, you're not going through struggles like that. You're not writing gigantic informations for weeks at a time to get someone back. You simply say a few things in the first 72 hours, you back off, and then you eventually miss each other and you want to resolve it. That's how real loving couples work. They don't barrage each other, okay? Number 6, they lack contrition and they practice self-serving victimhood. When caught in the act of their behavior, okay, whether it be cheating, whether it be seeing other people. Now, and I'm going to read this. I got a message from somebody. I want to read it to this number 6. I have a person here who asked me, Coach Landry, my God, do your videos make so much sense to my life? So I have a person in my life right now who I gave a second chance to, whose behavior even though we weren't technically together, they were still practicing as if they were single. Their excuse was because we weren't together, they were able to do what they wanted. So let me ask you a question to her. If that man wanted you back, was what he doing getting you closer or further apart? Okay. And if it's getting you further apart, then his goal wasn't, I will get you what I want. Look, when people genuinely love you, they can't, it's hard for them just to go be with another woman or another man. It's hard for them to even start an emotional relationship with somebody else. Okay. And you might say, well, we haven't been together in a year or two. Okay. So when they did hit you back up and they did decide that they want to pursue you again, even though you may not be ready to get back with him, and you're doing the whole rose colored glasses things, every once in a while seeing each other, spending some time talking about everything from your past, were they still doing their actions? They were, right? So if they were, then no, they're not totally in love with you. You're just their last option in life. I gave a speech here one time at the junior league here in where I live. And one of the women had asked me, how come men come back so desperately at some point? And I said, a lot of women think it's because they want them back. It's usually not. It's that they tried other things. Those things failed, or those men did things that those women noticed that made the women back off. They know at some point in your life, you fell for who they are. So you're the safe bet. You're the plan B. If everything, after all the time you spent together, you broke up, they think that if they go back to you, somehow you guys are going to get attached again. So they start trying to rev that engine back up and trying to manipulate you, okay? And remember, when exes contact us, we have the ability to think of everything in rose-colored glasses. We have the ability to think, oh, they miss me. Remember all those good things we talked about? Okay? Number 7, the situational socio or psychopath. Perhaps one of the most infamous forms of these personalities is the situational one, because it's where individuals extend respect. Being cordial. But at the same time, when they don't get what they want, they become harsh, nasty, ugly. Look, anybody who really loves you, like I said, in the end, will always take the high end on the way out. They'll say something nice to you as their last statement. They won't make everything ugly. Now, what that means is they don't send you some gigantic novel at the end, because that's more manipulation. They're trying to squeeze everything in there that they can. Now, if you're breaking up and the person's trying to tell you what they had in mind and it's the last message they ever send you, cool. But if they send you that and then 2 or 3 days later they're sending you another one and another one and another one, these are called manipulation tactics. They're sending you something, see if it has effect. It doesn't. They wait a couple of days. They send you something else, see if it has effect. They wait a couple of days. But you'll notice all these are really long and all about them. They're the victim, remember? Even though they probably broke up with you in the end or did something stupid. So again, these are ways, these apply. This is kind of a mix of sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists, cheaters, people who are just unstable in the mind and will do anything. What's sad about this is what you'll realize is that if you take a step back and you take off the rose-colored glasses that you've been looking at this relationship in your past from, what you'll realize is a lot of these things have been there the whole time. You've just been giving someone a chance that shouldn't have a chance in your life. What's sad is that if you go build a future together and you have children together, their best foot forward can't last forever. It's going to eventually seep through the cracks. And you're going to look back and think about all the potentials you had that got passed up, or all the friends you could have been friends with, but this friend destroyed all your other friendships on purpose. Or your ex came back in your life and they made sure that whatever hope you had at another life got destroyed, and you're all theirs. It all eventually catches up. Okay? If you want to talk about this stuff personally with me, contact me, email below. If you have a subject you'd like to see me cover, leave it in the comments below. And be sure to comment on if you have ever experienced a narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, an ex who came back and tried to manipulate you back into their life. Leave the comments below, and I will talk to you soon.